Saw that you saw that good old Annabelle 3. How was that?
Uh,
You're just like, I don't know about that.
it it was serviceable. The only thing is, and in fact, I was working on a little bit of my review for the Movie Man's Movie Minute ish. Is it added absolutely dick to the Annabelle story or the Conjuring universe for that matter.
Man, that's really, really surprising. I'm really just disheartened to hear that.
I'm detecting a little sarcasm there, Chase.
That's not what I do, Mark. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, not you, not at all. Hello, Dawn.
Hello.
Hello. Have you met Chase before?
I don't believe so.
No, Chase, Dawn, Chase. There we are.
Nice to meet you, Mark.
Hi.
He likes to hang around playgrounds. That's why he was able to pick up someone as young as me to be on his shows. So I don't trust him. I'm still being held hostage. So please call the cops.
It's the Pokemoning.
Oh, okay, right. I figured it was. He said he had something like sweet to give me, like a piece of candy, and I fell for it. And of course, my dumb ass, went in his van, and here we are.
Free candy and Wi-Fi, baby. Free candy and Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Annabelle, it added absolutely nothing. I mean, they did for like 80% of the film, they did what I like, which is not all jump scares. They did a lot of the creepy out of the corner of your eye type of, in the background type of horror. Which I actually like. That's one of the positives. Unfortunately, the script everything's just kind of there. and you do get like a section where they like stored up all their jump scares and then they used them all like within a 15-minute period and then they were done again. But it really didn't do. I'm like sitting here going, they just released this because of the whole passing of Miss Warren, and they wanted to maybe do something, to give a nod to her or something. I'm not sure, but all I know is that movie studios like horror films because they're cheap to make, and this one, same thing. They keep it pretty much to the house. You don't get that many location shots. Your small cast. So yeah, this was like chump change for them.
All right then. So it's it sounds like you had a great time with that. And Mark, speaking of horror films, I know this is gonna whet your appetite because you're gonna be asking me questions, and I will be happy to answer them. I saw Midsummer last night.
Ooh.
So, did you like Hereditary last year?
I did. Don't spoil too much for me, but
I won't spoil. But if you liked Hereditary, did you like Suspiria?
Actually, I haven't watched that version of Suspiria yet. But
okay, so the best way I could describe Midsummer is pretty much a nice little baby blend of Hereditary and Suspiria.
Oh well, you've hooked me.
Yeah, it's batshit. I just want to let you know, like, if you see it with an audience, please let me know how it is because I saw it at a press screening, so there was maybe like 20 of us in there. I want to know what a full crowd is like because it goes places.
Oh, it kind of looked like it from the trailer. The trailer was before Annabelle, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, okay, I want to watch this. Like,
it is wild. Buck fucking wild. I cannot believe, like, first of all, they got away with some of that stuff. I was like, I know this is an R-rated film, but good Lord, I can't believe this is going to be playing in theaters for people to pay.
Well, Dawn and I, we remember, Dawn, when we went to see Green Inferno?
Oh, yes.
We went to see Green Inferno because we didn't think we'd ever see a film like that again on the big wide release film. And yeah, that was fun. I mean, it was, that film's ridiculous, but
here's the most surprising thing about Midsummer that I don't think anyone is expecting, but I kind of want to just give you a heads up. It's actually kind of funny. Like, there's a lot of like dark comedy just kind of like looming throughout the entire thing, and I was like, I'm digging it. It's because you're laughing in the most uncomfortable spots, and you're like, why am I laughing right now?
Well, that's the best films.
Right.
I mean, that hooks me right there for it. I mean, when I saw the trailer again, it was the same trailer though we've kind of seen before, so they didn't add anything new. But I'm just looking at it again, going, "Yeah, I really want to watch that." Because it seems like now almost tradition that nearly every year now we get one batshit crazy movie released to the wide release.
Which this year, this is it, because last year it was definitely Suspiria, and I was like, I cannot believe this was in theaters.
And then we had Mother as well. You sat there,
Right.
you go, what, who the, who did what to get this movie released?
It's always my favorite phrase to just yell out into the theater, like, who funded this? Who gave permission for this? It's so great because, like, there's that one person that just like went up to some executive and was just like, yeah, we should do this. And they're just like, nah, I'm good. And then like they just keep like, pressuring them and like maybe taking them out to dinner, like sweet talking them, like maybe like stroking their hair. And they're just like, all right, fine. We'll make this weird ass movie that no one's going to go see.
well, with being a producer, they're like, okay, fine. How much is it going to cost?
Right. It's like,
is that all?
That much? Yeah. Okay, fine. We'll take a risk on it.
Yeah. Like Mother, like all that. You look at those and you're like, oh, it's only going to cost that much? Oh, shit. Here. Okay, fine.
Yeah. You know what's really funny is like, I know that Midsummer is like a, borderline independent, maybe like a mid film. But I'm telling you right now, they spent so much time building that damn society and those buildings and stuff. Like, there's no way that was an actual like campsite. They had to build everything from scratch. And I'm like, someone spent so much time on this. So like, I hope it's worth it. And I hope people enjoy it. Cause it was a fucking wild ride, man.
Yeah, that just makes me more excited to see it. So Dawn saw Ma.
I did.
Did you like it?
Last night. It was definitely, I'm glad I saw it. It was enjoyable.
You're like, it wasn't like the best, but I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I imagine a lot of that from what I've heard, because I haven't actually gone to see it. I've been meaning to, but I'm like, yeah. But a lot of people said, yeah, if they had anyone else but Octavia Spencer, this film probably would have really been crap. But apparently she helped save a good chunk of it.
It would have been certifiably like grade A trash if it was anyone else but her. Yeah. Because she actually sells you on like this like kind of like campy, goofy movie. Because I'm just imagining any other actress to take on that role, and it would probably be awful. So she did the best she could. She did take Tay to favor their friends. It's like, okay, I can get behind it.
It's because she looks so innocent and sweet.
Right.
She can look very innocent and sweet. And I just love Octavia Spencer, so I'll watch it and I'll watch her in anything. Because I've always liked her. It surprised me she was in a film like that, though. I'm like, this seems a little.
That's what I'm saying, though. If it was anyone but Tate Taylor directing it, she would have never done it because they're friends. And so, Can you imagine any other director like going up to her, going, "Hey, you're going to be batshit crazy, and you're going to be doing stuff to people's genitalia and all that stuff," and it's just like, I don't know about that.
See, I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would consider it horror.
It's really not. It's more of like a suspenseful thriller.
Yeah. And yet it's labeled as horror.
Yeah.
Well,
because of Blumhouse. Yeah.
Well, it's Blumhouse, and when Hollywood or the ratings board or whoever doesn't know quite what category to throw it in, they just toss it in horror.
Of course they do.
I mean, there's thriller and there's horror, but there's such a gray line between the two. It's like. Like that great debate with Silence of the Lambs. Some people will say, oh, well, no, it wasn't a horror film that won Best Picture. And then most of us will go, no, that was a horror film.
It was.
You're dealing with cannibals, okay? It's like you're dealing with a serial killer here. I mean, but then do you look at that and then you look at a film like, say, The Deer Hunter or the, Deliverance and go, is that horror? Or is that thriller or thriller drama? I hate genre tags personally because 9 times out of 10, it doesn't fully describe anymore what the film is. You could say comedy horror, and you're just like, yeah, okay, we'll just slap anything in front of the word horror. Because we'll get the horror fans, right? Because us horror fans will watch anything.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Chase knows we watch Children of the Corn.
Oh man, Children of the Corn, Wicker Man. We went down some rabbit holes. I can tell you what.
Was that Children of the Corn Genesis or something? Oh.
I don't even remember the subtitle. I just remember it was like the 18th one in the franchise, and I don't even remember what it was about.
I remember a guy one of the characters got shot way up in the air and then dropped. The cop, I think it was the sheriff or something.
Hey, listen, Mark, you remember more than I do. I actually made it my mission to at least have 3 or 4 drinks when we did those things, and so it's very possible I don't remember.
Well, at least Wicker Man with Nicolas Cage was at least somewhat entertaining.
Oh man, what a hoot of a movie! And there's even
that very differently than I do.
I mean, it's a hoot.
It's not a good film by any means, but it was fun. The bees. Oh, the bees. So while I got you here, no real spoilers, Chase, but I didn't get a chance to catch it. What'd you think of Chucky?
I didn't see it yet.
Oh, you didn't see it yet? Okay, I thought I was wondering.
Yeah,
so I didn't see a review on it, so you didn't see it yet. Okay.
No, it's just one of those ones. The fiance and I, we want to see it. She's game for any type of horror film. I mean, hell, we sat through Hereditary and Suspiria together in theaters. But yeah.
So no wonder you're getting married then.
Right. Well, and you know what's really funny is like I asked her, I was like, hey, so are we going to see the Child's Play remake? And of course, priorities first. I had to see Toy Story 4 for my podcast, so I was like, all right, we can squeeze in a second one. You want to do that one? And she was like, I've never seen the other ones. I almost had a heart attack because I own all 8 of them like a psychopath, and I actually like all of them. So I was like, oh God. But to be fair to her, though, I told her every person I've dated before her, no one's ever wanted to watch them anyway. So it's not like it's a complete loss. So, but she's curious about it because one, she likes horror, and then 2, she's a huge fan of that Aubrey Plaza, and so am I. So it's like, okay, even if she didn't want to see it, that would be the cause for her to see it.
Sure. Well, it is very divided in the horror realm amongst our horror fans. I have a friend who is very adamant against it.
Oh wow!
I mean, like vitriol, like venom, like oh man. And then I've got a few friends who really dug it. So it'll be interesting to see. If you do get to see it, I'll definitely be interested in your thoughts on it, especially being a fan of it. They've been hit or miss with me. I mean, I've enjoyed them, though they just got goofy, just kind of like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise did after a while when it worked its way into pop culture and suddenly it was cool to be a slasher.
Right. And I think Child's Play is the only franchise that could get away with the shift because I've seen those movies a million times. It is the most fascinating thing to see Child's Play 3 and then Bride. And it's like, these are 2 completely different movies, but it's someone behind the scenes going, yo, Brad Dourif is a crazy motherfucker behind the mic. He brings this character to life in such a weird and comedic way. We have to just embrace it. And so that's when someone was like, light bulb, we're going to go ahead and just turn this into more like horror, absurd comedy. And it's like, I'm down for it. Even though the first 3 work for me as like purely slasher, I still don't mind the switch. It's one of the few franchises where I have enjoyed every interpretation of it just because it's just fascinating that it's still going on to this day, which also is something that annoys me. It's like, why remake it if you're still making those straight to DVD ones? So it's like,
Yeah, well, they had something. They wanted to try to do something different. I'll tell you that it's different, and it's just one of those things where maybe because I'm old compared to internet age, but I roll with it a little bit more now because I'm just like, if you really want to watch those, just go back to the originals and watch them. Then don't go see the new one, you know.
Right.
And the Chucky franchise, Child's Play, anyway. You know, it's one of those things where, and Don and we've had this discussion too, where some of these quote in quotes classic horror films, if you actually go back and watch them and pay attention, some of them weren't that great. You know, many.
I was fixing to say, like, the Chucky films were made on a shoestring budget. They're the original Blumhouse, and so like they're not good, but there's something enjoyable about them. And you know, if Brad Dourif wasn't doing the voice, I don't think it would be nearly as effective. I mean, he's the one that brings that personality to life. That's why it was fascinating that they were just like, "Hey, Brad Dourif, you've been the voice for like 30,000 years. Mark Hamill's available. Let's just use him instead." It's like, wait, what? Why don't we just keep it consistent, please?
Well, I can tell you, they made it for it's definitely different than the others in many ways. So, in not a bad way. It's for the more modern horror film audience, because
which is fair, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get in new fans,
and I'm all for. Dawn, I'm sure you've watched a few as well now, that actual horror movies that aren't trying to be retro, but you've watched a lot of festival films. I have. We've seen so many indie films that are trying to be retro, and I'm like, do something for the modern audience, because let me tell you, your target audience, which in the 80s was the young teenagers, is still the same one today, and they don't want to watch the same old slasher.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Mark, I mean, I have to ask you then, because you just set that up for that question, because I saw that you brought your son to it. So what did he think of it?
He enjoyed it. He found it entertaining. He said, in his words, "It is completely ridiculous, but I was entertained." He goes, "It was completely ridiculous, but he was entertained." He just, over the past few years, has grown this appreciation for horror, not by my doing at all.
BS.
No, not at all. No,
I can imagine, like, when your sons were born, like, you had like a copy of like some weird like horror film you found at the bottom of a Blockbuster bathroom, like sitting in the waiting room, like, this is what you're gonna like one day, and they're just like, "Dad," like, they're just like, "What?"
No, seriously though, my oldest, he couldn't go down the video aisle of the horror section because the covers freaked him out, and so I didn't push it on him. And then a couple of years ago, he started showing a little more interest, and then I nearly cried when he said, "Hey, Dad, can I go with you to the new Halloween film?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, son.
I did my boy proud."
But what I found out is that he's been watching films on Rabbit, and he's got some friends who had a Rabbit room, and so he's been watching horror films there. So he's caught up quite a bit on a lot of horror, and I'm like, holy crap! And he's deduced it to like 3 categories of horror. I think he said, was it complete trash? Ones that are actually really well done and written and have smart characters, and ones that are entertaining but have really dumb characters and dumb plots, but they're still entertaining. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. I'm like, but he's watching them. He's like talking about The Ring and Rings and, The Grudge and all this. And I'm like, holy crap. So
yeah, I'm going to be really disappointed if our kids don't even like remotely like horror, because we both do, and it's just like, that's gonna be really disappointing when we're like, hey, we want to watch, Death and Gore Part 5, and then they're just like, I want to watch a Disney movie. It's like, God damn it. So
okay. We'll get some old school Disney that's almost like horror. I mean,
yeah, we'll just be like, hey, watch Bambi opening scene over and over again. That way we can both win.
Sleeping Beauty with that dragon, I mean, you got some scary elements in your old school. No, you know what? If they want to watch Disney, just stick in. Well, it's Jim Henson, but Disney owns everything now, so stick in Dark Crystal. There you go.
I will be disappointed. Like I could probably do the horror, but like if they don't like superhero movies, Mark, I might just have to like. I might just have to leave my family and just go live on a rock somewhere because, like, I will have failed as a parent and as a human being. So
for your superhero films.
I know it's just gonna be really disappointing if they don't like them. Yeah, sorry, Don.
No, that's fine. I'm sitting here thinking, gee, my kids were watching Evil Dead with me when they were really young. Both of my boys do good with horror. Their girlfriends, the younger boy's girlfriend, cannot tolerate even the remote possibility of scary in her movies, so he has to watch horror with me. And
Well, Don, I told Mark this story, and I think you'll get a kick out of it because you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, the teenage boy mind." So when I was, I think like 15 or 16, I was on this mission to find like the goriest films of all time, right? And so I went online, I found a list, and of course there was like Dead Alive and Evil Dead and all these other films, and I straight up like got I think half that list, just blind bought all of them. So I got like all 3 Evil Deads, and then I got Dead Alive. I found Dead Alive on DVD somewhere. Like now it's like rare, so I'm gonna keep that thing. But I found like that one and a couple others, and so I just started watching them because my perverted little mind just wanted to see like the goriest, most violent movies out there, according to the internet. And so that's how I stumbled across Evil Dead.
At least you had the internet, right, Don?
That's true. I actually watched Evil Dead the first time on HBO.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I needed them all.
Right. You're just like, all right, I'm sold. Thank you. Take my money.
Yeah. Saw Army of Darkness with our friend Pat in the theater midnight showing with the night it was released. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. This is why I hate being born in 1990 because it's like I really wish I was alive for that shit.
I went on a date with a girl and we went to see Army of Darkness.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah,
How'd that go?
Well, for a little while anyway.
Let's talk dating hour with Mark. So Mark, how was that date going? And then as we're talking about, your wife walks downstairs. We're like, don't worry, we're not talking about anything in detail.
We've been married almost 21 years, so
I've got a date with Jill tomorrow.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. New wine release.
Oh, that's right, the wine release. She was hoping to work the evening for that, but she may stay. So you're going to keep my wife after work are you?
Well, while Sheldon and probably you are out Pokemoning.
Oh, that's right. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so it's Legendary Raid Day.
So I'll be over there while Sheldon's out Pokemoning and drinking the new release wine.
I forgot. As long as the weather's nice. Damn weather.
It won't bother me. I'll be,
well, you're going to be inside the winery. You're going to be feeling fine.
See, Don's my type of person. Just get drunk and stay inside.
Oh, yeah. And that was Chase, that was Children of the Corn Genesis. Did you know they made one after that?
No, they didn't. Don't lie to me.
No.
What was it called?
Children of the Corn Runaway.
Runaway? What the hell does that even mean?
It means the audience was ready. It was a direct-to-video.
Someone ran away in the middle of the production.
Definitely.
God, no. How did that one even make money?
I don't know. It did. Well, it was a direct-to-video. Most of these were all direct-to-video after.
I can't. It's just I remember like when yes, because I was still alive when video stores were there. I went to the local one down the road from my parents' house, and they would always have like the best horror section because they would literally block it off in the corner. I went in there and like you could find like part 6s and 7s and 8s of like franchises you've never even heard of. You're like, what the hell is this? And you're like, I just want to watch everything. It's so great. So now that Children of the Corn's on their like 20th one, I know it's it's still possible to go that far nowadays.
6, 8, it's 10 movies in that franchise.
Jeez, good lord. Stephen King has died and then reanimated himself and then rolled over in his grave. Like that's what has happened. Ridiculous.
It is. Since I have both of you here, I guess we could roll a little early. Speaking of Stephen King, so are you folks ready?
Absolutely.
Dawn?
Sure.
Now that you know what you're in for with Chase here.
Oh my God! Don't introduce me to your friends as like this crazy asshole like kid that you found on the internet. Come on, Dad.
There it is. I was waiting for you to call me that.
Come on.
I was waiting for you to call me that.
Oh dear.
Alrighty, let's go. And welcome, my friends. Yes, we've traveled once again to Cronenberg, and we brought along this time Stephen King with us to talk about an interesting film directed by Mr. David Cronenberg. And tonight it is The Dead Zone from 1983, and I've got a great pair of crew members in here tonight. First off, we have the diva of the spoiler room. She is back with us once again to talk some more Cronenberg. It is none other than Dawn. Hello, Dawn.
Hello. Good evening, gentlemen.
So glad you could join us. And next to Dawn, he is back with us in the spoiler room. Yes, that's right. It is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Chase Lee. Hello, Chase. How are you, sir?
I don't know about all that, but thank you for the nice little intro there. Yeah, it's this is gonna be fun because the thing is with your spoiler discussions is that 9 times out of 10 you always send movies that I've never seen before. But I'm a fan of the director. So it's just like, how did I miss this? What is going on with my life? Now I'm going to go cry. So thank you for allowing me to come on.
You're welcome. Definitely going to be interested to get your perspective on this. And Dawn, did you want to give a synopsis of The Dead Zone?
Okay. So, The Dead Zone. Little Johnny Smith, well, not so little Johnny Smith, young Johnny Smith is a school teacher, high school literature, who gets into a car accident, ends up in a 5-year coma, and wakes up with the power of second sight, which grows stronger and finally leads him to seeing the potential end of the world, and he has a horrible decision to make.
Oh, that's well put. I like that. That was
come on, I read the book. You know I read the book.
I know you read the book.
I read the book like a dozen times.
I imagine you did. But did they have walk-in, and then once you saw the movie, did you hear his voice every time?
Every time.
Every time you read it, it was walk-in. It was Frankenstein never scared me. So then, Dawn, we'll get your initial thought with this. How did you like the movie? Your initial feeling, and then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty. But how'd you like the movie, The Dead Zone, after having read the book many, many times?
I enjoyed the movie just fine. I really think... Okay, before I get into anything too deep, I enjoyed the movie. I thought Christopher Walken did a great job at one. Doesn't he do a great job? I thought that the movie moved... No, the movie does move way too fast.
Yeah, it does do that, especially for Stephen King. Anything
in this book, in the book, in the source material, the story took place over many years. Not just the 5-year coma part, because it was always from John Smith's perspective, but even from when he woke up from the coma through the finale of everything that happened, that was many years. I mean, in the book, it goes with Sheen's character.
The great
Sheen's character, Greg Stilson. It goes... By the end of the book, he wasn't just going to be senator. He was actually up for election for U.S. president by the time John Smith makes his final decision.
I gotcha. So he debates a lot more with his final decision, which
again, there's a lot more build up to how evil he actually is.
Sure. Well, it is a King book, so you know,
it is.
Character development goes a long way, in a good way, but still.
But the spirit of the book is pretty much dead on.
Is it? Oh, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And Mr. Chase Lee, you said this was you're a fan of David Cronenberg, and this was your first watch?
Yeah, you know what's really weird is like Cronenberg, when he wants to, he can dial it up from 1 to David Lynch. And so the fact that he was like kind of restrained with this one was kind of shocking. So before I give you my initial thoughts, my favorite line, I cracked up and don't tell my boss, but I watched this movie at work today. So I was sitting there on my desk, right? I was watching in one ear and I was making sure no one was around the corner in the other ear. And my favorite line is when she just deadpan looks at him and goes, "You lost a lot of weight." And he goes, "It's the coma diet." And it's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's like, it's the funniest like retort ever because he's so serious. He's like, "It's the coma diet." Yeah, it's great. I'm kind of with Don on this one. The thing is, it's a good movie. Like, I don't think it's bad by any means, but it's also not great. I would compare it to like Stephen King adaptations. Like, if we're talking top tier like Shawshank or like The Shining, and then below that, or like the worst would be like, I don't know, so one of them. It would definitely like be above the middle, like but below the top tier. So it's still good, but Darna is absolutely correct. There's too much that's packed in to this movie, and it moves way too quickly at the hour and 43-minute runtime. And the problem is there's so much going on that you don't have time to marinate on anything. I remember there was one scene where just randomly his mom was in the hospital. Oops, she's gone. Next scene, oh, your mom's been dead. When did she get sick? When did she die? I just like there's no timeline here. So, and then also it feels like two separate movies because you have the first half with the the coma, the wake up, and the serial killer, and then the second half is all about the political figure. So I'm just like, you could have made the whole movie about one thing and then have the backdrop be all the character work, because I thought all the contemplation and the kind of sadness that he was going through, whether it be with his past lover or his father or just his interactions with people, that was more intriguing than him actually using his powers, because being in a coma for 5 years and waking up is already a great enough premise to begin with. So it's like there's some great things, there's some whatever things, but she is definitely right. There's way too much going on to justify the runtime to be fully invested in everything.
Yeah, and I felt that same way too. It's especially for 83, this is a decent film, and for what it is, but it would have almost served him better to explore more him dealing with trying to track down the serial killer, because I found that part fascinating. Like he he reluctantly decides to take on this cop asking him to, because he doesn't want to be like some sideshow whatever, but he decides, okay, fine, I'll help the cop out. And he goes and helps him out by touching the hand of a dead woman who he immediately sees who she's talking to and her killer in that. But then he lets go because he's sitting there going, I didn't do anything. I didn't, because it was like he was right there and he watched her die and he didn't do anything. And I'm like, that's a really cool thing to explore. Him fighting with the fact that he feels like he couldn't do anything, even though he couldn't because it's after the fact, but he felt like he was there and he could have, and exploring that and getting into the mind of the killer. That would have been fascinating. But we get that in like a half hour, and not even. And then we move on to the political stuff, which we are 83. So we're working on the nuclear scare. If you didn't pick up on that at all. Don, 80s, we get the nuclear scare. We get it here. That's quite prevalent fairly quickly. Kind of expected with horror film of the time.
Absolutely. And honestly, there was no good way, and I don't specifically recall if that was the big scare in the book, but it was a very good way to represent how he could be the biggest mass murderer in history by using that. It was a very, very quick, very easy image to use.
Right. And Chase, how'd you feel? I know you've watched some classic 80s horror as well. Does this kind of hit home to nowadays?
I mean, there are certain political figures currently working today that definitely that he was emulating. It was kind of interesting because you're watching, you're like, this wasn't '83, this was made last year.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right. So yeah, it was pretty interesting on that front. And of course, since I'm a '90s baby and Mark likes to make fun of my age, I don't know anything about the scare because I wasn't alive. But I can imagine that it's kind of like when growing up like early 2000s, with like 9/11 and stuff, there would be a lot of movies that would be charged, to be that type of scare and stuff. So I can imagine, making a scare for that time is, pretty accurate, but it's just kind of funny when you watch it nowadays. You're like, man, this thing was made like last year. Stop playing me, man.
It was kind of odd, yeah, watching Stilson and considering certain characters today, individuals today, you look at it going, it was hitting a little close to home going, wow, okay, this is a little creepy.
So basically what that means is that as America, we are predictable and nothing has changed. So there you go. That's what I can boil it down to.
It is predictable and nothing much has changed. And that's why I found this interesting watching this film. And there were very few parts that it actually felt dated because almost all the effects were practical.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed by that.
Especially that fire scene when he first grabs the nurse and you get the fire scene with the little girl. Chase, what'd you think about that, where he's in the bed that's on fire and you got a little girl in the corner? How'd you think that was handled? I mean, that looked pretty realistic. I mean, that they were actually there. It was kind of nerve-wracking, I thought.
Yeah, it was some really I guess this is the appropriate decade for it. It was some pretty rad green screen work. Like I was actually like pretty impressed that they were able to make it look like his bed was on fire and him like, staring at the girl and stuff. And so yeah, I thought what was really great, probably the best part about the entire movie was any time when he touched someone and like we get to see the future of the past. I was like, they put more effort into those scenes than anything else. So not to knock the entire movie, but it's just like, they wanted to make sure that psychic ability was really kind of noteworthy on screen, and they definitely delivered that with the effects.
But they also didn't do it too gimmicky either, like
no, not at all.
Weird filter or something with it. They kind of the way it was edited really got the idea across. Dawn, how about you? How'd you think they handled the flashbacks, his future prediction scenes in that in this film?
I thought it was great that they put him right in there as if he's there and that he's feeling everything. Rather, obviously he couldn't touch and interact with what was going on, but he could still feel all the things. He could feel the fire, he could feel the cold, he could, feel the press of the people and the aftershock of the bombs and armor going off. I like how they did that quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, well, it also has to do with Walken's performance, because if he didn't make it believable, then we wouldn't believe it. I mean, the guy was like legitimately freaked out every time he touched someone, whether it be good or bad. So, if he did not like, convince us that he was like seeing the future, then it would be basically just someone touching a hand going, oh, someone's in a fire, you should probably go get them. It's just like, well, that's not exciting at all.
And amusingly, when you said that, I could hear him doing that in his voice, that calm.
Yeah. Your daughter, she's stuck in a house. It's on fire. It's like, who are you?
some things that we mentioned about Stilson being prophetic, and I just have to throw this in here because I couldn't help it running across, but him talking about, and you guys, I'm sure you'll know which one I'm talking about. Right at the beginning of the film, he talks about Sleepy Hollow.
Oh yeah.
I'm watching it, and the minute he talks about Ichabod Crane and Sleepy Hollow, I'm like, did Burton pick him specifically because he talked about Sleepy Hollow?
If that's how Tim Burton cast people, then I'm gonna be very disappointed. That's about the equivalent of someone just like sitting on a couch, like in their boxers, flipping through channels, and they're just like, "Yeah, that's good. I think I'll take that one." It's like, don't you want to have them screen test first? No need. They said that they referenced that. It's like, what the?
No, I don't think he did, but I just love.
It'd be funny if
it would be funny if
yeah.
that's how Burton's like, oh, he said this line. I like that. Okay, yeah, we're gonna.
I like that indeed.
I like that indeed. You know, because he's talking about that, and then Martin Sheen. Don, this isn't the first time we've seen Martin Sheen in a Stephen King film.
It is not. Most definitely not. I don't think it's even the last one.
No, because you and I talked about Firestarter, which he was in, and I actually had to look just to see if they were doing some quirky thing where he might have been like a similar character, but he's not.
No, not at all.
But nowadays, though, that's what would happen.
Exactly. Well, because nowadays they'd be more aware of the Dark Tower tie-ins.
Right. So you'd have the Stephen King cinematic universe, which they kind of been trying to do, but
I actually, speaking of that, I really appreciate it because I just watched watched the show last year, Castle Rock. I was like, oh, cool. They said Castle Rock High School. I was like, because I never really got into the whole like Stephen King like expanded universe, and so when I saw the Castle Rock show, I was like, this is pretty dope. Like, I hope they do more stuff like that. So it was really cool to see a movie, made way long ago, Castle Rock High School, and it's like, oh, they've been trying to do that for a while, just trying to incorporate all of them.
Yeah, because the sheriff also was from Castle Rock, which is cool to hear that. You're like, oh yeah, there you go. There's your Stephen King right there, Castle Rock. Because then you also had that in Dark Half and all that. By throwing that in there, but they aren't it's just the way Stephen King writes. So at least they're not forcing it, saying, look at us, we're in the same universe. You don't really have to with King stuff because he did it for you already. So, but yeah, I think that. Well, go ahead.
I don't remember who. I don't remember which actress it is. But since you brought up Firestarter, George C. Scott's ex-wife is in the Dead Zone.
Is she really?
Yeah, I don't remember which actress it is. Oh God, I'm a terrible person.
No, you're not. You've watched a hell of a lot of movies.
Here it is. It's Colleen Dewhurst. She played. Didn't she? Yeah, she played the deputy sheriff who was the serial killer. She played his mother.
Oh, okay. Wow. that was an interesting thing when they did that. I was like, Chase, were you a little disappointed that revealed so quickly when he went to? It felt almost like a CSI episode. It was like when he touched the hand of the dead body, he's like, it's Dodd. And you're just like, oh, okay.
I honestly thought that was the movie. I was like, oh man, he's gonna touch a hand. He's gonna have to like figure out the clues and like what the face was, and then literally the next shot, the face reveal. I was like, oh, okay then. And then I checked the time because I was like, wait, hold on. And so I looked at the time. I was like, there's an hour left. What the hell are they going to do from this point? Like, are they just going to fiddle around at his house like while he's limping on a cane? And so, then they go to the killer's house and they kill him. And it subverted my theory. I was like, hold on. I was just joking. So now that they actually killed the guy, where the hell are they going to go from this? And then time jump. Here we are, just second half of the movie. I'm like, what? Why did you reveal everything so quickly?
Yeah, they like I said, they follow the spirit of the book very closely. The whole first half of the book was setting up the the psychic ability, and then the whole second half of the book was building up to the decision that John Smith had to make as far as what he was going to do about Stilton's character. It just didn't translate as well. Because it felt like you guys said, it feels just like you're jumping from one thing to one thing too quickly.
Yeah,
I'm
because
very curious. I never saw the TV series, but I bet that just worked out so much better. A 5-year TV series.
did it go 5 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
2002 to 2007.
Holy
Don, you know
crap.
what's really funny about that? As I was watching it, I was like, man, this would make a really great TV show. And then my dumbass goes on IMDb and it's like, oh, it was a TV show. I was like, huh. Okay, then. So I guess I was already on target and I had no idea it even was. So there you go.
There you go. I didn't realize it ran 5 years. I knew they had done it, but that was
I have the first season on DVD sitting on my shelf over there. I just haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
Yeah. Well, you almost get like it's almost like 3 stories involving Johnny Smith, because we've got the serial killer part, and then you're right. I mean, we time jump, and then he's a tutor for this kid who is the kid of someone very rich who has political, who knows Stilson. So we get that whole story, and then we get to it's almost like 3 smaller stories wrapped together.
It's also 3 lessons in what he can and cannot do. The first story with the serial killer, he didn't get involved in until after it was way too late.
Right.
And all he could do was avenge the deaths of the women that were dead. The second story with the kid, he was able to convince the kid not to play hockey, so he didn't fall through the ice and die, but the father was still too stubborn and, caused the deaths of
2 kids. Yeah.
So he was learning that he could make a difference if he just did something about the visions.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final vision, he was able to prevent Armageddon.
Yes, he was. He was able to prevent nuclear Armageddon by taking out Martin Sheen. So let's talk a little bit about, this is the 80s. I know it's the 80s, but Don, how did you feel about the relationship he had with Sarah, played by Brooke Adams? I get the beginning part, and then she moved on and had kids, but she does something in here that I was like, well, this shows it's an 80s film, because
really, you think so? You think that was only an 80s thing?
Well, no, but I mean, it was very more prominent in film in the 80s, that she's married, but she decides to give him one last fling, which then they're hanging out, which I was like, are they divorced? She's not divorced, but they're still hanging out like they're in a relationship. My brain was really trying to wrap my head around what they were going for, because I thought maybe with the time jumps, she had divorced at some point, because after the one night stand, she shows up with her kid to hang out. I don't know. It felt, I understand what they're going for. I guess it just felt a little odd with the time jumps of how they did everything. Well, no, she showed up with the kid, then she had the one night stand with him. That was even
the
more
kid was asleep.
Awkward. Yeah. but then she goes back to hubby like nothing happens, and he seems to have moved on as well, almost, for the most part.
You missed the most important part of that scene, because it was already awkward enough that like she cheated on her husband, which, by the way, why? Second of all, it was weird because after they pretty much like banged out in the living room while her kid was sleeping, they have the dinner the next scene with the dad as if like they've been dating and like they have a kid together. It's like, oh, everything was fine. We just hung out today and all that stuff. And like he even made the reference that they had sex, and it's like, what? That's your dad. Like, what? And she's married. Just stop it. Go back into your coma. And just I was really confused by how everyone was just so hunky dory. Like everything was just fine.
Yeah, because the dad knew what they did. He's no dummy. He's like, the way they were looking at each other. He's like, yeah. He's like, I hope you shampooed the rug afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope you do some house cleaning this weekend.
Yeah, it was odd. And then they went on, and then we had the time jump again. He's tutoring kids. And then we get, of course, dun, 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 her husband is canvassing, and she is canvassing for Stilson because, of course, right? the movie coincidence, Dawn, that we have here. Is it set up any better in the book, or is it just another one of those where, oh, look, convenient plot twist?
It's better in the book because, like I said, there's a longer time frame. So
sure, you got a little more time.
It's not quite so. The coincidental aspect is better handled.
How'd you feel about the coincidental? Oh, look, Sarah Bracknell and her husband happen to be canvassing, and they happen to knock on his door where he's trying to hide out.
Dumb. Like I would like, because as soon as the guy came up, I was like, oh no, please. It's like, for the love of God, keep her in the car. It's already bad enough that like she boinked some other dude with their kid in the house. Like, it's already gonna be awkward. Just don't do it. And he's just like, honey, can you bring a flyer? And then she walks out like, oh God, just why? Just please leave. Exit the house.
Did you catch? She obviously told him about it.
Yeah, exactly. And like, she was like, this is my husband, and he's just like, I know who the fuck you are. It's like he gave him the look like, she already told me everything. Like, why are we having this conversation right now? Why couldn't you just bang him, leave, and never see the man again? Yeah. Which, by the way, I actually thought that was going to happen, because the way she set it up was like, we're never going to have a night like this again. I was like, all right, she's gone, and then she just comes back, and I'm just like, yikes. And that actually brings me to my the last time that they're together at the very end of the movie. I hate the end of the movie. It's almost like the movie just gave up on itself, and it's like, we've been at this long enough. All right, roll the credits. Like, I could not believe that it just ended that abruptly. Now, I've seen plenty of films where it ends somewhat abrupt, where two people, they're in love, they have their last words, and then just kind of fades to black and just calmly with the credits. This was just like, I love you, I always love you, dead, credits. I was like, oh, okay, I could have gone another 5 minutes, but hey, I guess I can just stop playing this now. So I thought that was So I see every time when she interacted with him, she was doing something wrong. She either cheated on her husband, she brought him to his house, and she made the movie end early. So it's just like she's just bad all around.
She really, Don, how do you feel about the Sarah character in general? Would you say that she seems to make the bad decisions out of their relationship, or
not necessarily? She's, I can see where you see that, feel that way, Chase. I just, again, the 80s,
right?
It was a different. Surprisingly, they were going for a strong female character, especially compared to other things, but it didn't work out that way.
Right. And like, I actually like, the very beginning, they're hanging out, they're together. It's like, it's sweet. It's cute. Like, I enjoyed that. And it's just like, as soon as she did the cheating, I was just like, I don't care anymore.
Well, I mean, they pull a basically, Castaway, where 5 years have gone by, she's moved on, married, has kid.
Right, and we just got something similar like that in cinemas with Avengers Endgame. Like, I get it. It's a weird type of like, hey, you've been gone and stuff, but because she could have easily gone to the house. It's like, oh, I missed you. Like, I still love you. Like, that would have been more powerful. She's just like, I still have feelings for you, but I got to do, what is right. And then they just, hugged it out and walked away. And it's just like, no, I'm going to bang you on this bear rug with my kid watching it. It's like,
plus the door is open to the bedroom for
I'm like, sleeping. Come on, man. So no, I mean, like I understand, like, that was like his only connection to the past, basically, and like, there's something kind of poetic about that, but they could have just handled it a little better. That's all.
Watching this though, especially the last chunk with Stillson, I got the spirit and a bit of a vibe. And Dawn, you can tell me if I'm completely wrong, but did you get just maybe a little bit of a vibe of Taxi Driver? or am I just twisted like that?
Well, aside from the fact that you're just twisted like that,
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily did. That doesn't mean that it wasn't there.
I mean, the way it was handled and directed, the storyline, I understand, yes, you could say that about a lot of things about someone suddenly deciding to assassinate a political figure or whatnot, but he's got his love, the love of his life still works with the political figure guy's dick, you kind of get into that vibe, and it's like I was kind of getting just a little bit of Taxi Driver with it near the end. But again, I am twisted like that. Chase, what about you? Would you say there could be any comparisons to maybe Taxi Driver in this last act?
I mean, I'm kind of with Don. I think you were just smoking some dank Kush, and I want to know where you got it. Because I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
so,
cool.
I mean, could you explain it to us? Because like I'm a little confused. Like, how did you see it? How did you like vision it?
It was just one of those things where like the spirit of with the way it handled with him, in the crowd, and granted, yeah, it was a psychic thing, but him deciding to kill this guy, it's just a number of familiar components between the two, and the way it was kind of directed in a way, although here, Walken is more successful than our man De Niro was, but still, I don't know, maybe it was just me. And it's just the whole assassination of a political figure thing. I don't know, but it just felt like, go ahead.
Yeah, Walken didn't assassinate, didn't actually successfully assassinate Stilton in the traditional sense, and yet he did.
Yes.
He assassinated his character. As I imagine how the boardroom meeting went, it's like, all right, it's at the end of the movie, Christopher Walken, he's gonna kill Stillson. They're just like, whoa. That's too dark. We can't be doing that. And they're like, all right, hold on. How about we assassinate his character? Like his actual like character. That way he can assassinate himself. They're like, oh my God, that was really deep. And then clap, and then here we go. Movie was made. But no, I actually kind of like that, because I actually thought he was going to follow through with it. I was like, oh man, here it is. He's going to wipe him out, and then the credits are going to roll, and it's going to be like this weird cliffhanger, like coming next week on the Dead Zone. But no, I'm actually shocked that it went that route, and I kind of liked that little twist.
Well, it was fitting for the Stillson character. And Don, you mentioned the Stillson, you learn even more of just how of a scumbag he is. It is more fitting that he assassinated his character and killed him that way than actually straight out killing him, because if he does actually straight out kill him, he does kind of become a martyr. But in this way, he doesn't. So would you say that's fitting as well, that the way is that how they handled it in the book as well?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
With the assassination of his character and him, and what was up with his the best henchman known to man, Stillson's second,
well, he was no Martin Landau, but
no.
he was definitely he was definitely the henchman that enjoyed the violence.
Yeah, but then you get that thing at the end where even he's got his limits. With Stillson, he's like, No,
I don't think he had his limits as far as it didn't strike me that he had his limits, like he thought Stilton was a poor choice, but he saw that the ship was sinking, and he wasn't going to go down with it.
Right.
He didn't care. He actually enjoyed the fact that Stilton was an evil bastard and allowed him to, do the evil things he wanted to do.
Right. But, I was just wondering if he took that stance because Stilton used the kid as a human shield. But yeah, you're right. Maybe he didn't want to associate with him anymore because he knew, yeah, you're done. Chase, how'd you feel about this henchman of his?
I mean, he was there. He kind of looked like oh man, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy in Ant-Man that works with Louise.
Oh
the tall white dude with the black hair.
Right.
He kind of looked like him, and so every time when he talked, and I just thought of that guy, and he made me laugh. He gave me a bright chuckle.
Yeah, he did. He gave me a rather bright chuckle as well. I got a kick out of him.
No, see, I was seeing more of the Martin Landau from, what was it, North by Northwest.
Oh yeah,
guy. That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
And I was questioning the "Are you in love?"
Oh, I am in love. I think.
Of course you are.
No. Well, that's a good question. Was Johnny Smith in love, or was he still hanging on? Huh?
No, not Johnny Smith.
Oh, not Johnny Smith. Sorry.
Stilton and the henchman.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
That relationship.
Yeah, yeah, there was a little closeness with them there, but maybe not as prevalent as it was in North by Northwest. But
no, but I mean that's where my brain went.
You know what? I wonder if the henchman and Stilson had kind of a bromance a little bit closer at all. I mean, it is the 80s. You could have that.
I mean, if they just embraced their love, they wouldn't be as angry and just pissed off all the time,
blackmailing journalists and such.
Right, exactly. If they just embraced their love, it would have been a nice, moving picture about love and friendship. But no, they had to dick it up and totally just be like, all right, we're gonna blow up the world.
I'm sorry.
Everybody's got to have goals.
Exactly.
There were too many uncanny. Like, there's just watching the Stilson character. I think I was afraid. I was actually kind of afraid. I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, folks, watch this. This is still relevant.
So, some of David Cronenberg's signature things with the mommy-daddy issues.
Yes. Yeah,
those were all over the place.
I was just going to get to that, but please, by all means, Dawn, you've been with us pretty
right
much.
On ahead. It was in your plan, so you go right on ahead.
No, we have been pretty much with this. You've been with us from almost all the Cronenberg episodes, just about, and yeah, there's a mommy and daddy thing. I mean, you had the serial killer and the devoted mom who looks past her son's homicidal ways because that's her boy.
You got the creepy, very childlike room that he's in. That was weird.
Yeah, what was up with that? Like kid room, he was that was weird. He was almost childlike there, and then he gets the relationship of becoming the father figure almost to the little kid.
And
then we have his girlfriend who's now a mom, and she's got her kid. And yeah, you're right. That's all over the place in here.
Yeah, it is like this film is lousy with all those twisted Oedipus relationships.
It is. Now that you mentioned it, I hadn't thought about that until
I mean, and if you look even a little closer, Tom Skerritt as the sheriff, as the dad who couldn't see what was going on with his deputy sheriff's son.
He
had no clue what was going on with that.
Wow, that is there. So that at least is Cronenberg-esque, but we do have some lacking things as well. Chase, you said you're a fan of the director. Did you see any other of his signature stuff in here besides, parental relationships?
I mean, not really. I mean, because like I said, he's kind of all over the place when it comes to his cinema. Like he can be tamed, or he can go, like I said, full Lynchian and just like be weird as hell. And so I couldn't really see it. I mean, just because it was so different than what I've seen from him. And yes, I'm still working my way down his list. The furthest one I can go back with is Videodrome. That's the oldest one I've seen, which is funny because it came out the same year as Dead Zone. But yeah, I'm still working up like the ladder to like see more of his stuff. So I've seen like The Fly and Naked Lunch, which is weird because like that's by far like the weirdest one that he has. And yeah, I've seen that one over everything else. And then the first one I ever saw was The History of Violence. And I was like, oh, this was a really cool movie. And then when you see like his older stuff, I'm like, this isn't Cronenberg. This is weird. And then I've seen pretty much everything with Viggo Mortensen. So yeah, I personally could not see a stamp of his in there. But that's why I appreciate him, because he just can surprise you like that. So there you go.
See, and that's the difference. You're watching them in reverse. As you continue to go back, you're going to see a whole lot more.
Right, yeah. And that's why I love like that's kind of like why I love being born the way I was born, is because I see like newer stuff and I'm like, oh wow, I'm fascinated. Let's go back. And so it was the same way with Lynch. The first one I ever saw was Mulholland Drive, and so I eventually went backwards and got to the Twin Peaks era, and which I say era, and that was it came out when I was like 2, but yeah, it's fascinating because, like I said, I started out with The History of Violence. I was like, hey, that was a really great movie. It didn't really see any stamp per se, but then like you said, you just keep going back into the rabbit hole, and you're like, man, this guy had some effed up stuff. I'm digging it. So, yeah.
You just keep going back. You get to Rabid, Shivers, and then when you get to Crimes of the Century, if you get through that, Crimes of his first one, that's on YouTube. You could watch. It's about an hour long, and that's what's missing out of this, though, is the body horror. You don't have body horror in this.
Oh, I mean, the closest thing that you have is when the serial killer jammed the scissors in his face. Other than that, that's about it.
You're right.
But they didn't show it, and Cronenberg is very good for showing things. And I think that was more the Stephen King influence.
Right.
Which, again, this dude, mad props to the serial killer. There's many ways you could kill yourself.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to go. I would be scared as shit to do it. I'd be like, no, I'll just go to jail.
There's many ways you kill yourself. I never would have thought opening a scissors and bashing my head against a sink and to shove the scissors into my brain.
Especially because there's no guarantee that that's actually going to work.
Right. You're just going to cut yourself up and just be mangled and go to jail like with a bunch of cuts on your face.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do it just right. Otherwise, you're just going to be all mangled. Yeah, I was just, it surprised me how this guy offed himself. I'm like, okay, no, he doesn't just stab himself or take, a poison pill or something. No, dude shoves good old scissors right up the nose. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that's as close as you got to body horror. Like I said, like it was. Honestly, if you cut 1 second before the nips were showing at the gazebo, and then if you made the scissor thing less bloody, this would be a PG-13 movie. Like it is a very, very, very tame R, considering the person behind the camera. And you have one of the producers of Halloween as well. So it's like this film could have been like bonkers bananas, but they were actually like pretty tame with it. But it's like you said, Don, it's like Stephen King, like he's not like known for like, oh man, I gotta have like that Evil Dead type of gore in his movies. It's like, no, that's not what you go to a Stephen King movie for. You might have it in the movie, but it's not the Stephen King stamp.
The exception to the lack. Well, no, after he got, as the years went on, Stephen King did his film and TV did get a whole lot more gory. But for this time period, the only exception was The Shining, and that was because who's going to tell Stanley Kubrick now?
Well, and also Stephen King hates it, so it's just like But yeah, I totally get that. Like, his newer stuff now. But yeah, back in the day, it's like, you didn't go to a Stephen King movie expecting, Hostel Part 3. It's like, no, you're gonna see some cool, like, science fiction, more fantasy type of story with maybe some horror elements, but it's not gonna be like ridiculous. I'm actually surprised they got David Cronenberg to do this, considering that Videodrome was straight up body horror, and it's like, they both coming out the same year. It's like, I don't understand how you could look at that man's work previously to what he did and was like, yeah, this is our guy. Like, I don't get it personally. Maybe he knew Deborah Hill. I have no clue, but there you go.
Yeah, he is kind of a surprise for direction of this, because you could see this directed by a number of different people. With it, the way the script plays out, it's, as you mentioned, you guys both mentioned, there's very little, outside of the mommy daddy stuff. There's not a huge amount of signature Cronenberg stuff in here, I don't think. That like what we've seen in the past. So it is definitely lacking. Just another prophetic thing I got a kick out of, that I want to bring up, because not only does Walken mention Sleepy Hollow, but go on to play the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow, Martin Sheen's character talks about being the president, and he goes on later to be the president in The West Wing. Just saying.
Yes, he does.
Just
I'm telling you, this was the audition tape. They saw it, they're just like, man, that guy can really push a nuclear. And so that's how he was cast. Sorkin was just like, yeah, that's my guy.
I just say that, there is a interesting coincidences in this. So here's a little tidbit of trivia that I think you both would appreciate. Excuse me. Bill Murray. Bill Murray was Stephen King's choice for the part of Johnny.
I could see it.
I can see King wanting that.
Yeah, that's not too far off. I mean, it just sounds funny because you imagine like his dry humor throughout. Like he shows no emotion. He's like, I was in a coma for 5 years. I have psychic abilities. What's up? And it's just like, no, thank you. But I can see where he was coming from.
I can kind of. It's just 83 Bill Murray.
True.
I don't see it. I mean, we're not talking Lost in Translation Bill Murray here. We're talking 83 Bill Murray. We're still talking SNL.
You're talking SNL, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I fully get what you're saying, Chase. And yeah, now, it's kind of like Robin Williams though, too. You never picture him, until you get to Awakenings or whatnot. Or wasn't Awakenings. Yeah, he was in Awakenings, wasn't it? Or where this is one of his first dramas for Robin Williams. You wouldn't have pictured him doing a drama, and then until you see him doing a drama, and they're like, oh yeah. So Bill Murray, now knowing what we know now of him, he probably could have pulled this off.
Can you imagine if like he was cast and this was like his Lost in Translation before Lost in Translation? Like, can you imagine if like that movie came out, they're just like, man, he was so good in Lost in Translation. It's like, man, do you remember him in The Dead Zone? He was the best. And it's like, man, what a lost gem. Like that would have been fascinating if like that was his first ever big dramatic role, and then it was just buried and no one ever talked about it.
Yeah, it would. Don, you said you could see him. Would you think he would fit the Johnny Smith character?
I'm sure he would have. Although, like you said, this was very much his SNL heyday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we would have found Bill Murray being Bill Murray. I'm sure there would have been more humor.
Yeah.
And maybe it would have gone more, instead of being so serious, dark, maybe it would have been more wicked, playful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
More dark humor, wicked, playful, as opposed to, like Brad Dourif.
Yes, like Brad Dourif from our discussion earlier. Yes.
Yes.
Can you imagine if he was in the hospital bed and he touched the nurse's hand and he was just like, your daughter's burning in the house right now. And you're like, oh my God, what is this? See, now I'm like laughing because now I'm replaying all the scenes, just like making it really just ridiculous and over the top.
With Bill Murray with that.
Actually, I'm closer to envisioning that scene where he is from Ghostbusters, where he is testing the psychic abilities of his students. Hey, pretty lady.
Johnny, we have a crime to go solve. It's like, stop hitting on people.
All right, guys, I gotta go check out this murder, so everyone hang tight, and I'll be back.
Oh my God, what an amazing film! A piece of film that would have been.
Completely different. Number one comedy of the year. Also, it's interesting. One of the rejected endings had Johnny Smith surviving being gunned down and predicting a knife attack against his girl while in a hospital, and then he slips back into a coma and dies.
Oh my God.
That didn't happen in the book.
Yeah, slight omission was not in the book. Thank you.
I'm glad. I was just going to ask you, Don. You beat me to it. I was just going to ask if.
I mean, if it was, I've repressed.
Right. Because wow, that would have totally taken a different turn too. Talk about ending on a. I mean, it ends on kind of an up note because Stilson kills himself. So you're just like, yay! Even though our hero dies, yay! He did something good. And in that one, it would be like, yay, no. Oh, no, his girlfriend's going to die from a knife fight, and he dies with the last vision of her dying. Wow, that's a downer. Hey, anyone want to go see Conan? No, just kidding. Sorry. You were going to say something, Dawn? I'm sorry.
No.
So I think we'll wrap it up here. Dawn, I guess final question. Chase already kind of alluded to it, mentioned it. Would you agree? Probably Cronenberg's most commercial work to this point?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
That is without a doubt his most commercial movie. Hey, listen, do you want to watch Videodrome or The Dead Zone for family night? Oh, gee, I don't know. Like, let me think about it for a second.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Billy doesn't have to go to school tomorrow, so maybe we can watch Videodrome.
Yeah, let's just scar him for. Hey, listen, you want to watch Jeff Goldblum peel his skin off in The Fly? Yeah, that sounds really great. I'm a housefly now.
Which we will be covering next month for our Welcome to Cronenberg episode. And for this one, we are going to wrap it up for tonight. And so I appreciate our panel getting together to talk some David Cronenberg. And as we always do with these episodes, we're going to end the night with a one thing as we leave, as we hop into our car and drive away from Cronenberg. What is one thing that you're going to take with you with the Dead Zone? Dawn, we'll start with you first. What's one thing as you leave Cronenberg? What's one thing with the Dead Zone you're going to take with you?
Don't forget your Kevlar vest.
Oh, nice. And Chase, as you leave Cronenberg, what are you going to take with you?
I'm going to go in that coma diet tomorrow.
Do you think your fiance is going to wait around for 5 years for you?
Hey, listen, Mark, it's not like this is going to air on the internet or anything. She's never going to hear it. So here's the deal. Like, if I go in a coma for like 5+ years, just know that I'm going to wake up looking sexy as hell. So that coma diet is going to be what I'm going for.
Oh my God. Just learn how to use a cane better than Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Done. I'm not going to walk up and down my driveway looking like a buffoon with 2 crutches. That man, I don't know who directed him to wobble like that, but that's not how you walk with 2 crutches. So,
believe me, I know.
Exactly. So it's like, Christopher Walken, please do your research.
Yeah, even the cane, I'm like, dude, why are you? We know you don't even need it. You're not even selling that you need the cane.
He's literally walking around with it in the movie as if every time when he touches the cane to the ground, it has an electric shock, so it jiggles his body. I'm like, no, that's not how it works, dude.
Yes, and well, I learned that the best, if you're going to get assassinated, the best thing to block the assassin's bullet is a young child. So
Oh my
there you go.
God. Gotta pick up that child just real quick.
Just pick it up. Just make sure you got
He had no second. He had no second to think about it. He literally picked up the child and was like, just shoot it. And I'm like, oh my God.
He didn't hesitate at all. He just ripped it right from her arms. He's like, oh shit, someone's shooting at me.
Human shield.
It's not like he even grabbed her because she would have been a bigger shield. While she's holding the kid, no, he just grabs the kid, waves the kid around.
Well, I mean,
legs are dangling.
Mark, he was a politician. Obviously, he was the smartest man in that room. He wasn't dumb at all. So
no, he
yeah, right.
You're supposed to kiss the babies, not
pick them up for human shields. This episode got dark really, really fast. But thank you.
Real quick. Yeah. So we'll wrap it up for the night. And now this is where I give my fantastic guest, my crew members here, a license to shill. So Dawn, go ahead, license to shill. Where can they find some of your written stuff that you still have out there?
On occasion, you can find things in theaudience.net.
Fantastic. And Mr. Chaseley, I know you got something to shill.
Absolutely. If you guys want to follow me on my podcast, it's Real Me and Cole in the Movie Podcast. It's on all podcast platforms. And if you want to just subscribe to my YouTube channel before it gets shut down because I have 2 copyright strikes for no apparent reason, it's Real Chaseley. So go ahead and do that before I get obliterated. So there you go.
Ooh, two major ones?
2 major ones for something I didn't do because they flagged my podcast for copyright infringement when they have no video or audio clips in them whatsoever. And yeah, so
wow.
It's been fun.
Well, and then of course it being Google, you can just readily reach someone immediately to appeal, right?
yeah, and it's not just some robot.
No.
So if my channel gets deleted next week, Mark, it was nice knowing you.
Oh, well, you could still be on the show here.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Because I don't post a shit on YouTube usually. Well, sometimes I post an episode on YouTube, but usually it just lives on my website, which nobody knows about. So, so you're safe there. No, I had the last copyright strike I had on my channel, a major one, was because the independent filmmaker did not care for my review. And they were looking at getting distribution, and so they did the copyright strike against me just before they were in talks with Sony Home Entertainment, just so that review wasn't out there, which I found out through channels later. It's not someone I know personally, but yeah. So that happened. And I didn't bother to appeal it. I'm like, it was just one strike, but I found out a year later that, they did it because they didn't like my review and they were looking for distribution. So, yeah, they did a major strike, so the review didn't show up.
Yeah, so, I love being the little guy.
Now, granted, and okay, yeah, I'm going to totally fucking say it. If I was a Stuckman or a Jans, be a completely different story. But, I make no money for YouTube, so... they don't care. The other one I love the other copyright strike. I'm just dragging this out now. I'm sorry, folks, but the other copyright strike I love is the one that is a minor one, but it doesn't show in 250 countries.
Yeah, what did you show in there?
Nothing. It was my review of The Commuter. I showed a clip. I didn't show any video clip. It was a poster and one still from the movie. And they blocked it from every country in the world, but it's not a copyright strike like a major one. It just nobody can see.
It's so stupid. I hate it, and it happened this morning too. My second one, and I'm just like, I can't win. I cannot win.
So anyway, though, we will let everyone go. Thank you so much once again. Hope you enjoyed this Cronenberg episode. And now just say good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, folks. This was fun. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. Thanks, Chase, for hopping on.
No problem.
Tonight. It was great to hear that you were a fan of Cronenberg too. So I like
yeah, no, I'm listen, I come from the weird part of cinema. I love Lynch and Cronenberg, so that's what shocks people. They're just like, "Oh, you're one of those people." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I am."
And age doesn't enter into it, but it is the demographic that you do fall in. I got mad respect that you are willing to watch old films, because many out there that are around your age group refuse to watch films like past a certain, like, 95.
Well, and I think that's ignorant. I mean, I went to film school, and so, like, being introduced to all the black and white stuff and older films past 1990 is it's what I live for. I mean, you need to learn. You can't just watch newer stuff and say you're well versed. It's like, I appreciate you doing that, but you gotta dip into another decade every now and then,
or at least pick those directors. Like, Dawn was on a few of those episodes with Hitchcock, when we did Hitchcock, and some of those I hadn't watched before, Hitchcock films, and I'm watching them going, I see this director and this director and this director and this. I'm like sitting here going, holy crap, so many people have borrowed from this man.
Yeah, any chance I get, I try to see like older films in theaters, because we have several theaters over here that do retro screenings all the time. I try to hit that up. The best one I saw was I've seen it a million times, but it was really cool to see like Psycho on the big screen, because it's a completely different experience.
It is. I mean, you just experience it so much better, and that film is just so solid of a film. One of my all-time favorites, right next to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I know it sounds weird, but I just love Psycho, and you could see why it's big. But yeah, I got the chance to see it on the big screen. I also got to see Jaws on the big screen when Fathom did their event things.
That sounds cool.
I have to laugh because I've at this point I've seen Jaws on the big screen so many times, and every time I have the option to see it on the big screen, I go running again.
I would wish we had a place nearby, but of course we're in the middle of Wisconsin. But I'd love to go to one of those showings where you're floating in water while watching Jaws.
Yeah.
They have that here in I believe it's like one of the cities above where I live, and I do not want to do it because I have a deep fear of like deep water and stuff. Because
sure.
There was a. Do you remember that movie Open Water?
Yeah,
that movie just messed me up for the longest time, and I'm just like, every time when I'm in water now and if something touches me, I freak the fuck out.
Well, at least. Go ahead, Don.
I did want to say it's not just the younger generation who you have to remind to watch movies from different eras. What was it, last weekend or the weekend before, talking to Joe, explaining to him about the pre-code films and trying to get him excited about those.
Yeah.
I mean, he is quite a bit older than we are.
Yeah, he is, but yeah, watching pre-code films is always interesting. I mean, we've watched a few of those, or those films like from the 70s that were just before the Child Protection Act. Films where you're watching it going, whoa, okay. Fast forward a little bit. Okay, there we go. Cinema.
Those films that make you uncomfortable and go, how the heck did these get made? Oh yeah, that was before these laws and regulations were in place. Because nobody ever thinks about movies from the 30s being about adultery and prostitution and
what?
Imagine.
No, I forgot who I was talking to the other day. It was ever since the first image was put to celluloid or whatever you used way back when for film, a nude image was immediately put upon.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, no, folks. Yeah, that's just human nature. But thank you very much, folks. I'll let you both go. Always a pleasure to discuss with both of you. Next week, I don't know what I got lined up. I got something lined up for next week. We're doing Insect Month next month since Cronenberg, The Fly, and we're actually going to cover. I decided to do The Fly 2. The
I'm looking
sequel
for
to
a
that.
copy of that.
So that's online, I think. Otherwise, Endoplex maybe might have it. So
That's what I'm looking at.
So we may not have too many people, but Chase, you are welcome to return for any of our episodes, but especially if you want to talk some Jeff Goldblum and The Fly. Love to have you back for that one. So
yeah, I'll just I'll keep a look at it every time you post it up, and I'll see if I can do it.
All right, sounds good. Cool, man. And yeah, thanks for letting me know about that weekend and that you're getting engagement photos done. Now, do you have a date already set?
Yeah, we're getting married October 31st, 2020.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's into the horror theme, so the reception will be costumes.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
A little prequel. What are you going to dress up as? Chucky? No.
That would be hilarious. Considering the fact that I'm 6'4", it would be the most ironic thing. No, I have no idea what we're doing yet. It's
Oh, that's
she's
cool, though.
got a couple ideas, and she'll pick one.
That sounds like that'll be a good time. So awesome.
Oh yeah.
Well, very cool, sir. And
and also speaking of horror theme, I'm not going to spoil it for you because you're going to obviously see it on my Facebook page. But our engagement photos are combinations of movies. That's all I'm going to say. So
neat.
When I put them,
sounds very nifty.
Yeah, so when I put them up there and you watch it or you look at them and just let me know what you think of them. I think you'll like them.
I'll definitely keep an eye out for those. Yeah, now you have me definitely intrigued. So yeah, Don, I don't know if you're going to be available that weekend or not for the Creepy Crawl channel event. I got to start promoting that because in about 2 weeks on a Saturday night, it's going to at least be me and Andrew discussing sci-fi horror.
What weekend is that? Let me know what weekend it is because I'm going to be at GlenCon with the kids coming up here soon.
Actually, it might be the weekend of GlenCon. It's the Saturday the 13th.
Yeah, I'm at GlenCon that weekend.
You're at GlenCon. Okay, that's what I kind of figured. So, but so far, Andrew still is on board with it, and we'll be part
obviously, Glenn will also be at GlenCon.
Well, yeah, Glenn will also. He's been quite busy for quite some time. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, but yeah, we're gonna be doing a Creepy Crawl. I don't know if you heard of that before, but I mean, I know you had mentioned you were interested in it before your, all engagement photos and everything.
Hey, listen, man. I just I had this plan like in the beginning of the year, so you can't really fault me for it.
I don't. No, not at all. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. I think it's awesome. No, it's hopefully it boosts our subs a little bit. A bunch of small horror channels doing like a marathon where each channel is doing a live broadcast show that's horror themed, and we end up being the anchor in that we're the last show before the after party show. So
I would have loved to have done that, but
yeah.
games.
So far Andrew can do it. I got to double check, make sure he can do it. But the topic I chose was sci-fi horror. What's the difference between action sci-fi and horror sci-fi? Because, thinking of Aliens versus Alien and some other sci-fi out there that people call horror, but
I'm missing this. One of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't schedule GlenCon, so
I know you didn't.
But anyway, well, thank you very much, both, and now I'll just bid you all good night.
All right, peace out.
Peace out.
Good night.
Thank you, Don.
I'm trying to click on the thing.
No,
it's
it's
not
okay.
letting me.
It's okay.